Hi, it's Greg Hughes from 90-Second Website Builder. I want to show you how the tool called Breadcrumbs works. It's a navigation tool or a menu object for 90-Second Website Builder. But before you can understand how the Breadcrumb tool works, it's important for you to understand another concept in 90-Second Website Builder because they work together, and that's the concept of parent-child pages. To talk about that, we need to go look at our site manager over here. So I'm moving the camera so you can see in this demonstration, I'm using a website that has parent-child pages. This kind of a structure is what we mean by parent-child. So as you can see, I have a page here called courses, and what appears to be pages underneath this page are called child pages. Courses would be the parent page for obvious reasons. Now this structure, I will tell you, is rare. It's not something you would normally do. You're going to want to understand the parent-child structure because in most cases you do not need to use it. By default, you would have all of your pages at the same level. And in fact, even if you do use a parent-child structure, this is something that only appears in your site manager. It's not something that matters on the final website because when the files get updated or uploaded to the server, they don't have this particular relationship. They're all on the same level. But this is a way for 90-Second Website Builder to help you create a certain kind of navigation if you want to. It's optional, and again, it's rare. So some of the navigation tools, such as the CSS menu and the menu bar and the Go menu, they give you the option of creating your navigation using the parent-child page structure. It's called synchronization, in fact. There's one particular navigation tool called the Breadcrumb, which is the only one that will almost always require the parent-child relationship. We're going to go into this a little bit more deeply in this video, and hopefully that's not too confusing. So let me recap what I've said so far. The parent-child structure, meaning having pages under other pages, is rare. It's something you'll only use if you're going to use a certain kind of navigation. And if that navigation is going to be the breadcrumb navigation, which we're going to talk about here in a second, then that's one of the cases where you will want this kind of a structure of parent-child. Now let me show you how that works and why you would want it, and even why you would not want it in most cases. What I've got here is a breadcrumb tool. I went over to the toolbox over here under navigation, and I grabbed a breadcrumb object and I drew a box onto the canvas like this. And that's what we ended up with. So I already have one here, and we're going to study it. You'll notice that it already has content in it. Let me show you where it's getting this content. I'm going to double click on it, and it looks like pretty much any other navigation setting, but one of the things you'll notice here is I've checked a box called Synchronize with Site Manager. Now again, let me reiterate, because a lot of times people check this box when they really don't want to. The only time you will check this box is if you are using a parent-child relationship structure. And in fact, the only time you will use a parent-child relationship structure in your site manager is when you are synchronizing. So these two concepts work together and hand in hand. What this means is when I check this box, I'm allowing the software to create my navigation for me. I didn't put all of this in here. The software did it for me because I checked this box. And what it did was it went over to my site manager and it grabbed all of this information and it put it into my navigation. That's why my breadcrumb shows these links, and they all link to the right pages. It's put in the correct name and it's put in the correct URL to those pages, to those files. If I uncheck this, I now have the freedom to go in here and edit these and make these what I want. But you want to do one or the other, not both. So in the case of breadcrumbs, because of the uniqueness of a breadcrumb navigation tool, you're going to almost always synchronize. So let's synchronize again, and let's take a look at what it did. First of all, one of the things you may notice is the difference between the file name in the site manager and the actual name that's showing in the menu. Now this is very interesting. You'll notice that while the breadcrumb tool is synchronizing with my site manager, and it knows that my homepage is called index because all homepages are called index, how did it know to call this home with a capital H? Because that's not showing here. Same thing with courses. Even though it's going to a page I happen to call courses, how did it know to capitalize this one? And here I've got a page called questions, but here it called it ask a question. How is it smart enough to know that? How does it know that I want to call the sign up page join in my menu? Well, let me show you how it knows how to do all of that. Here's why. We'll cancel this. On every page in your website, you have the ability to create what's called a menu name. And again, this is something you'd only use if you're synchronizing. So if we go to, for example, the questions page, I'm going to double click on this and open up the questions page. So that's where we are right now. It happens to look similar to the index page right now, but I'm on the questions page, as you can see. If I right click on the canvas and go to page properties for the questions page, you'll notice that the page properties allows me to create a menu name. This is not the file name. The file name is questions. It'll actually end up being questions.html when we publish. It is not the title tag, which is what would show up in a search in Google. It's the menu name right here. The only use for this is when the software is synchronizing for me and it needs to know what I want to call this page in a menu. That's why I don't want to call my home page. Let me open up the index page here. I'm going to double click. Let's go to the page properties for the index page. And you'll see I've called it home. So I'm the one that told it to do that by putting in the menu name I want it to use whenever we synchronize. So I don't want it to say index because most people don't know what that means. It's friendlier to call it home with a capital H. But the file will always need to be called index with a lowercase because that's how website files work. By doing that and by having my structure in this parent-child relationship, now my breadcrumb knows how to operate. And what a breadcrumb does is it tells the user where they are in your hierarchy, where they are on the page. Right now, if we preview the index page, I'm going to click F5 and we're going to look at what the breadcrumb is telling us. It's telling us that we could click on any of these and go to these. Notice that it doesn't show anything else under the courses because those are child pages. It's just showing me the parent pages, the first level. And it's not letting me click on this one because I'm already here. This is where I'm at. I'm at home. And so now let's go see what happens if we go to, say, the courses page, where I've also got one of these. I'm going to F5 to preview. And my breadcrumb knows how to behave. It's saying you can go to the home page. You can't go to this page because you're already there. And you can click on these links. And again, it's only showing the parent pages, not the child pages, because that's how I'm having it respond. So it's smart enough to know where the user is. It will not let them click on a link that they don't need to click on because they're already there. And it's also knowing to show the parent pages only. So now watch what happens if we were to go to one of the child pages. So market research didn't show in our menu because, or in our breadcrumbs menu, because it's a child page. Well, what if we were on that page? Let's go to market research where we have this, and you'll notice quite a difference. So we're going to click F5. And now if I was actually on this page, this changes because now it's part of a different hierarchy or sub-hierarchy. And so now, since I'm on the market research page, it will show me that this way. Now, I can control how this structure works, not to get too complicated because this is something you can play with. But what you can do is you can double click on this and you can decide at what level you want it to show. At the current level is what we've been doing. It can go to first level or parent level or child level, whatever we want. So let me give you an example. So if we set this to first level, and again, we're synchronized, and we go like this, it's going to change a little bit. See, it's going to go back to this. If we go F5, since we're on the market research page, it's going to tell us that we can go to home, we can go to courses, or we are on the market research page, which happens to be under courses. So that's something that you can decide and you can play with. I realize it sounds like it can be complicated, but I think you'll get the gist of it as you play with the settings for the breadcrumb and as you understand the principle of parent-child pages. What I want to stress is don't feel like you need to make this parent-child relationship unless you're planning on using a tool like breadcrumbs, or if you're planning on using your navigation as a synchronized navigation. And again, most people would not. If I double click on this CSS menu, you notice I have not chosen to synchronize because I would not typically do that with a regular CSS menu. If I did that, then I wouldn't be able to decide on my own navigation style. I would let the software do it, as we just talked about. So in most cases, I'm going to not synchronize, and in most cases, I'm not going to use that kind of relationship. But again, you may want to, and if you're using the breadcrumbs, you certainly would want to. Then there's one other thing I want to show you that is really important. You'll notice that when you synchronize, the software only knows, let me go back to the index page and make this clearer. So here's the index page, here's the breadcrumb object on the index page. You'll notice that the breadcrumb is only picking up certain pages. There's the home or index, there's the courses. As a parent page, it's not picking up the child pages on purpose. It's picking up resources, it's picking up ask a question, and there's my join or sign up page. You notice that I have a page here called downloads that it did not pick up. And the reason for that is I don't want it to. This might be a page that I don't want people to navigate to. This is a page I have on my website I don't want people to know about. I want them to get to it another way, opt into my subscriber list and then go to the free downloads page or whatever. So this is a page I would hide from my navigation. How does the software know, or how does the breadcrumb object specifically know to not include this page in the site structure? Since it's picking up everything and synchronize everything from here, how does it know not to do that? Well, it knows the same way it knew what to call these pages, because there are page settings. Let's go to the download page and I'll show you what I mean. If we go to the page properties of downloads, here's my menu name, but I don't need a menu name because it's not going to show in a menu. But here's the trick. I checked this box right here. It says don't synchronize this page in navigation objects. So that means you can decide which of the pages in your site manager the synchronization tool will connect to. So you do have full control. That's a little bit complex, and I wanted to do that quickly without confusing you. So probably the best thing to do, again, like with anything, is to play around with it in the software. But again, to reiterate, in most cases, for just most navigation tools, you're going to want to uncheck this. If you want to synchronize, then you'll check it, and you'll make sure that your structure then is prepared to be synchronized, meaning you've named your pages with menu names, you've unchecked pages that you don't want to have synchronized or in the navigation. And so, in other words, you're going to want to be ready as you create your site structure. You're going to want that to work well before you use the navigation tool that uses synchronization. And again, the breadcrumb tool is great for that because it's just another great navigation tool. It shows people kind of a you are here style of navigation, and just one more great way to help people get around your website in 90-second website builder.